We're live on YouTube and we're live on TikTok.
Good morning. Live on YouTube.
We're getting better at knowing when we're live. Now, I'm assuming the chat won't work again.
Fingers crossed that the chat will work.
It didn't work for Bible chat.
Yeah,
Bible
but you know what? Like it randomly worked.
Live on YouTube. Oops, let me turn that off. On
TikTok. Good morning. It randomly worked last week. So like, why couldn't it just randomly work on live stream number 2 for Pastor Paul this morning?
Why couldn't it? That would be wonderful.
Let's imagine the possibilities of our technology working this morning.
Let's imagine the possibilities of my hair not being totally a mess right now.
We're going with the blue hooded sweatshirt wardrobe this morning in the Swearingen household.
We have a new setup.
I know. I wonder if anyone will notice.
Yeah, probably not. Because it doesn't look new maybe to them, but it's very new for us. I mean,
if a person has been tuning in with any sort of regularity, they are aware that we are in a very small little corner of our home, and they will be familiar with the bookshelves behind us. But for us, this is, we have so much room. Like, look at us. We're like actually comfortable this morning. So
no chat on YouTube again, it says this morning.
Dadgummit.
Dadgummit.
I think it's a little too early for me to just drop a GD this morning. So I'll just say dadgummit.
Well,
that's a DGI.
The settings are set so that it can be. I just heard you slurp.
I'm so sorry. Part of our new setup here is improved sound, and so I have been warned by my husband that my coffee slurping is quite loud. Yeah. So I'm going to try to, but I don't want to burn my tongue. I mean, I'm going to try to not do that. Okay.
If TikTok would let us stream from the desktop, we would have plenty of room in our setup. But because TikTok requires us to be in the 9:16 format, shot through an iOS device, it makes life more difficult
TikTok
for us.
Would not be TikTok if people could do stuff in front of their computers. I think part of the fun and charm of TikTok is that it's just this like whatever you can get done with your iPhone or your little personal device, and that's the spirit of it. So I don't hate it, to be honest, even though it does make for an uncomfortable Saturday morning for us. I don't hate it.
Well, I'm mad at TikTok right now, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's other reasons to be mad at TikTok, but requiring a small device is not one of them.
All right. So you can leave questions in the question box at the bottom of the screen. It's the little box with the question mark in it. Very cleverly designed. And it's a beautiful day in northern Michigan, we hear. And Charles from Chula Vista is here. And Beige is with us, of course.
Good morning.
And we're glad you guys are here, and we hope you moderator guys will moderate for us today.
Yeah. And thanks for joining. And as you're popping on, you may notice people like to say where they're dialing in, tuning in, what do we say, streaming in from, which we absolutely love. It's just like a little roll call on Saturday mornings. And I don't know, I think for some reason it creates a sense of connection. That we all live in such different places, but we're gathered here and having just a little bit of time together, and something about that's inspiring. So thank you for putting your locations in the chat.
And we come together every Saturday to just talk a little religion, politics, and life. Ashley is a former elected official, two-term mayor of Fresno, and I am a former senior leader of a church and now pastor on TikTok. And so we've always had an interesting perspective on the world with our mix of religion and politics, in that we think there shouldn't be a mix of religion and politics, but there should be a heart of God that involves everyone well in their civic realm.
And yet we're involved in religion and politics.
Yeah.
So we have some authority to speak on this kind of stuff, and seeing the inappropriate influence and the inappropriate ways in which people from a religious perspective are imposing their views on the public square.
Well, let me correct that, because we talk religion and politics because we think religion and politics are bad.
Fair. That's fair.
We think following Christ and allowing that to impact you searching for justice and fairness and equality and shalom in your community is exactly what followers of Christ should be doing, or followers of God even should be doing.
Yes. So Atlanta, someone's tuning in. So cool.
Alaska,
but there was an Atlanta as well. I was on the phone yesterday with the head of the community foundation in Atlanta. Fred is his name. And fantastic to just connect with some folks there and thinking about a new initiative to connect residents in low-income neighborhoods and really support them in new and different ways. So I'm excited about Atlanta.
That's very cool.
Yep.
So I'm seeing Beige 45 asking about the golden statue of 45. I knew that was going to come up today.
That's everyone's favorite topic this week.
One of the things we like to do is do what we call the WTH. It's the week that happened. And so I'll tell you what I said in the Bible talk, and also the thing I was just showing Ashley, the stage at CPAC, which is shaped the design of a Nazi symbol. So do we believe that the CPAC conference says, hey, psst, don't tell anybody, but the stage is a Nazi symbol. Yeah. Wink, wink.
Right. Probably not.
I don't think so. No. So what we're fighting against is insanity and a desire to be outraged at all times. I was talking about this with the Jezebel spirit in the Bible talk. We're always looking for some simple way to bring outrage and fear to people around us. So let's be careful not to become the other side of that coin.
That's such a good point.
That is
such a good point.
So CPAC, you are effing stupid to allow that to happen. How could that have happened? I don't think they intentionally designed a stage to look like a Nazi symbol, but they are freaking idiots to have allowed it to happen,
and
knowing what we're talking about in the world these days.
I don't know that anybody had a vantage point that we now can see, on the setup team.
It may very well be they designed the stage, and then when the other company came and put the screens up, it all of a sudden made it into that design.
But really the broader point here, because I don't think it's so much about just that, the broader point is, I will attest to this. When you're in the arena, so to speak, and people are coming at you with stuff that is so far-fetched, conspiracy theory, all that kind of stuff, it's really easy to just be like, fight fire with fire, and like, trying to, and you come at people with the same attitude, the same spirit. It doesn't work. It's not good. And so we can't do that. But here's what's going to happen is people that we're hanging with that are trying to forge a new path where, these, I don't know, just sort of recreating some of these social structures, maybe more in alignment with the heart of God or whatever. Like if you don't stand up and like say all these bad things about people who your folks perceive are enemies, then they think you're not defending them enough.
Right.
And so let's not play into that, you know?
As per the statue of Donald Trump, the golden calf, if you will, I can imagine the people designing that statue were like, this will get them. This will get the libs. We're going to own the libs with this one. And so my advice is like, let's just not give that stupid thing oxygen. Hey, we know the idolatry of Donald Trump in the religious right and the conservative right is well established. They've sold their soul for Donald Trump as president. That idolatry doesn't need a golden calf. That idolatry already exists. Let's not give oxygen to the stupidity of the golden statue of Donald Trump. To me, they're just trying to get your goat. And so be careful not to become the other side of the same coin.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's a good point.
What was your bet?
Well, I was just going to say, putting aside the like, is it a golden calf? Like kind of thing. Because let's be like, yeah, we flew past golden calf like 5 years ago.
Yeah, we're way beyond.
Let's not be shocked and awed by this. So like, let that go. But like, it's just so tacky and self-aggrandizing and like all the like, it's just a reminder of that's just the layer of junk that comes with.
That was the biggest thing when I saw it. I thought that is one of the ugliest statues I've ever seen in my life. And people are taking selfies with it as it goes by and like, which just like when you sell out to something really cheesy. There was a Saturday Night Live skit years ago that it was a people's court. And it was this woman, I think it was Rosanna Arquette, was suing the devil because she sold her soul to the devil to be a great hairdresser, and it didn't work out the way she wanted. And so, at the end of it, she wins the case. And at the end, they're like, will you ever sell your soul to the devil again? And she's like, no, well, maybe for a really nice car, And so if you're going to sell your soul, do it for more than a sandwich. do it for more than Donald Trump,
Oh yeah.
And if you sell your soul so cheaply, then that tacky, crappy statue makes you go, ooh, look at that,
Yeah.
because you sold your soul really inexpensively.
Hey, so just kind of recapping, here's who we are, what we're doing, etc. I'm Ashley. This is Paul. Paul is Old Pastor Paul on TikTok and pastor-paul.com. You can find a bunch of other cool content and stuff on his website. And we'll give you, make sure you know like what all that is as we kind of go throughout this morning. We spend about an hour together. We know from looking at the stats after we log off that people spend maybe up to 5 minutes. Actually, the number's going up. We used to be at like 2 to 3 minutes, and now y'all are hanging out for like 5 minutes, which is really cool. But we're just going to carry on a conversation with each other, with all of you. And as Paul said, we like to recap the week in our special segment called WTH, the week that happened. And then
I wish we could think of something for WTF, week that
flailed. So
See, we just
somebody
can't
will
think of
come
anything.
up with a good one in the chat. Yeah, we mostly want to create a space for people to talk about just the reality that has become this kind of religious political stuff happening in our society, because we're all finding that like we need a good place to talk about it, be honest about how we're seeing things, seek help, encouragement, and support one another. So that's what we're dedicated to. I want to just note that apparently we've got maybe some little fisticuffs of words happening in the chat.
Oh, really?
I see our moderators working hard to say, y'all be kind. We don't want to block people, but
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just, yeah, like this is not the place to come on and try to just disrupt and, get attention. So let's be encouraging and supportive of one another in the chat, please.
Yeah. We have decided we're going to keep the place safe. And so if somebody just wants to come in and fire out staunch right-wing Christian nuttiness, we're going to mute them.
Although we're hearing the unable to block, so I'm not sure if we're having some technical difficulties or what. But
I wonder why.
We could try to adjust.
No
that.
option. I'm unable to block. No option.
Okay.
Maybe as a moderator you can't block, but I think you can mute. So anyway, see, okay. So that's what this particular person is doing.
Is what?
Is making things unsafe. All right, let me see what I can do here.
All right.
Let's see if we can get rid of him.
God bless you.
What should we do? Block. There we
go.
All right.
Boom.
Guy McGee is now blocked.
There you go, buddy. All right.
What was he? I wonder what he was talking about.
Well, I'm not sure. We can figure that out later.
Dave says she doesn't have the mute option. All right. Well, then just tell us if there's somebody that needs to be muted.
It's the Wild West on TikTok right now. So we'll just go with it.
Nutty people. And that, I just hate that. Now, if somebody who is a staunch right-wing Christian wants to come in and say, I have a different thought, can I share this? And put that out, that's great. But what happens is they just start going, you're wrong. No. I just hate that. Sadly, moderators cannot block.
Well, we're learning. I thought, well, okay, again,
they have been able to in the past, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
TikTok just flicks switches for the heck of it.
We don't know.
I used to get lots of views on my videos, and then one day they decided that I didn't anymore. So that's how it goes. But here's my thing from the week that happened. Do we want to go to WTH?
Yes, WTH.
Week. So Charles just said week that finished.
Charles.
Week that finished.
He did it. I knew somebody would come up with something clever.
But I was really honored to be invited into a group of awesome evangelical leaders. It was led by a friend of ours, Doug Paget from Vote Common Good, and then Shane Claiborne, who is not a friend of ours, but somebody that we know of.
Well, we follow and we watch his stuff.
An amazing guy and somebody that we may not always politically agree with necessarily, but just has done amazing things. And they brought a group of people together to craft a letter to ask evangelical churches and church leaders to denounce Christian nationalism. Now, Christian nationalism is a term that I didn't even really know existed until maybe about a year ago.
It was new to me, honestly, until this book came out.
I did an interview with this author, and I know it's probably backwards on your screen, but Catherine Stewart wrote this book called The Power Worshippers. And I did this interview with her about a year ago, and the subtitle is Inside the Dangerous Rise of Religious Nationalism. And so Christian nationalism, religious nationalism, I didn't even know was a thing until about a year ago. Now, we knew in our spirit back in 2005 that something was way off in the right-wing church, and with the idolatry of religious politics and the Supreme Court and the presidency and all of that stuff.
I feel like for me, it was really magnified when President Obama was elected.
Oh my gosh, it got
I
really
don't-
ugly then.
I honestly don't know if in 2005 I was in touch at all with, well, I mean, I think I was just living a pretty insulated, isolated bubble-like life. I don't think I really picked up on it until I was in office, honestly. And I was like, wait, what? We hate him? Why? What if he's trying to help our community? Like, shouldn't we partner? Like, what? That, anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then when we met Sarah Palin in 2008, that's when we knew something
No,
really
we met
crazy was
her
going on.
after the presidential. It wasn't
Right.
2008.
But it
it
was
was-
2008. The
It
election
was-
was in 2007, and then Obama
Ed.
became president in 2008. No?
No.
Okay.
The elections in 2008.
Okay.
She and John McCain were defeated.
Okay.
Obama was sworn in 2009, but she got on the speaker circuit, and we went up. Some friends of ours had tickets to an event being held in Northern California in Redding, and they invited us to come up. It was no, I mean, it was like maybe 2010, like it was
Yeah.
not, it
Okay.
was, yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
I thought it was earlier than that. We have to look back, because that was the first time that I was really like, hey, 60-year-old people in suits and ties are really off their freaking rocker. They are really, really nuts. So anyway, this group wrote a letter condemning Christian nationalism, and it came out on an NPR story this week, and we're now encouraging other evangelical leaders to sign on. About 200 leaders signed on to this. Really impressive people. Brian Zahn, Brian McLaren, some really awesome names in the space. And I'm just proud to be a part of it. And part of the premise, and I know this is hard for some people to hear, but I think this is a truth. The premise is, hey, after 9/11, what did we demand of our Muslim friends and neighbors? Do you denounce what happened on 9/11? You have to denounce what happened on 9/11. And our Muslim friends had to go in front of the cameras of TV stations and say, no, that's not us. That's not true Islam. And we're saying after January 6th, evangelical churches should do the same. We should be asking the same of them. Are you for it or against it? Do you denounce Christian nationalism, or do you support what happened on January 6th? And I know some would say, well, that's not true, but I played video. I have a TikTok video this week I played of the prayer they prayed in the Senate, thanking God for helping them with their insurrection into the chamber. And that prayer, if you hear that prayer, is exactly the type of prayer that's prayed in an ongoing basis in the tradition of which we've gone to church for most of our lives. And so there's no question in my mind, it's not Antifa in the room. It is our people in that room. And so this letter came out this week. And I think, can I just read a part of it?
It's so good. Honestly, have you posted it everywhere so that people can see it?
I have. If you go to pastor-paul.com,
gosh.
I don't think it's up there yet, but it'll be up there today.
Do go see
Yeah.
it and like circulate it, because it's a Google form that other pastors and faith leaders can sign on to, right?
Yeah.
So 100%.
The website where it is that you can sign on is called Say No to Christian Nationalism.org, I think.
Okay.
So let me read just a part of this. So it starts like this. As leaders in the broad evangelical community, we recognize and condemn the role of Christian nationalism, the role that it played in violent, racist, anti-American insurrection that took place at the United States Capitol on January 6th. We recognize the damage done by radicalized Christian nationalism in the world, the church, and in the lives of individuals and communities. And we know from experts on radicalization that one of the key elements in a belief is a belief that your actions are, quote, blessed by God, unquote, and ordained by your faith. This is what allows so many people who hold to a Christian nationalism view to be radicalized. Woo, that's brutal. Now, one other thing I wanted to read here, and I thought this was really interesting. It says, over the centuries, there are moments when the church, big C church, which means the whole collective of the church. So there are moments when the church, the transnational body of Christ, has seen distortions of the faith that warranted a response. In ages past, the church has responded by holding emergency councils in order to unilaterally denounce mutations of the Christian faith and to affirm the core values at the heart of Christianity. It is in that spirit that we unite our voices to declare that there is a version of American nationalism that is camouflaging itself as Christianity, and it is a heretical version of our faith. Woo.
Yeah, that's fire. That is fire. Some questions in the chat about who wrote that letter. And if I'm understanding the chat correctly, no, it wasn't the author of the book. It was this collection of
evangelical leaders.
It is really, really good. So we gotta put that up. And I feel like, and I'm seeing some comments about how people have asked family members to denounce white supremacy. And it's not uncommon for people to be so offended by the question that they just shut down the conversation.
Right.
And that's something that we got to get better at, like, and I'm reminded of the scripture, a gentle answer turns away wrath. And the reason why I memorize that scripture is because my mom's name is Ruth. And we used to joke, a gentle answer turns away Ruth. When we were angry at my mother. But anyway, a gentle answer turns away wrath. And so if someone is coming hard, and they're saying something that's true, even if they're saying it in an accusatory way, what keeps us from being able to say, you know what? I want to hear what you're saying. I want to react to that. I want, kind of let go of the, I'm inflamed because you're inflamed. Well, who cares if someone's inflamed? Hear what they're saying, So that's, as white Christian leaders, that's what we have to do right now. Right. It can't be Black people were, destroying property in Portland. Stop with that.
Yeah.
Stop with that.
Yeah.
Those are not healing words. Those are not reconciling words. So,
and I always struggle with that because there is a time to say, hey guys, that's wrong. And so I think there's always a tension there. That's always the tension for me.
Yeah. I think just to finish on that point.
I see you reading the comments even as you talk.
I know. I find the comments, honestly, the comments are the best part of my week. If I could just recap my week that happened, I'd be like, last Saturday, I had so much fun reading people's comments.
So people are asking a lot about where they find this and all that stuff. So for sure, and others are sharing the website, and that's great. Pastor-Paul.com will take you to my podcast website, and I'll have it up there today. So if you can't remember anything else, go to my bio and click on the link to my website, and it will do it. Yeah, they're saying you're a multitasker. The only problem is it makes your eyes be down instead of looking at the people.
What can you do? I can't help that. But I wanted to just close this out and say, one of my favorite sayings I heard from a Christian pastor who I've really gotten a lot out of over my lifetime. Said this: God will sometimes offend your mind to reveal your heart.
Yeah.
So think about that, white Christians. Think about what is offending you. I'm so angry that, you said evangelicals are white nationalists or blah, 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 blah. I'm so angry that, okay, why are you
Why does
angry?
that make you angry? Yeah.
Why are you angry? And it's okay. Let's just be honest. It makes you angry. Let's talk that through, but let's seek to push through that. And to be like, wow, I can really understand somebody coming to me and saying, can you acknowledge that this abhorrent behavior is in fact abhorrent? I mean, I don't like to be called out any more than the next guy or gal, but let's just, I don't know. It's just see past the approach and listen to the heart. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think Jesus intentionally offended people. When he said, eat my flesh, drink my blood, he was trying to poke a soft spot. When he told the Good Samaritan parable, that's why I do modern day parables, because He would have told the good Muslim parable, the good abortion doctor parable. He would have poked the soft spots to see if people really wanted truth or if they just wanted to be right. There is a big difference between wanting truth and wanting to be right.
Ooh.
And what we see in America
Wow.
today are a lot of people who want to be right.
Mm. Mm.
And so I'm not going to listen to any news that would challenge what I think. I'm not going to listen to any other human that would challenge what I think. I'm only going to be in my bubble forevermore, listening to people who tell me I'm right, because truth is less important than being right.
That burns.
Yeah. I like to be right too.
That burns. I do too. I really do. People who know me will be like, yeah, you're kind of aggressive about that. That's true. But I think that what I have learned in this season, and we started off in the Trump era saying, hey, God is going to use the fact that this man is president to reveal himself and to bring about his genuine and authentic love. I am. And I'm saying, as you know, when he was elected and half the country was like, haha, finally, Jesus is the president. And then the other world was like, oh my God, God has abandoned us. Like, this is awful. He's the worst thing ever. In our camp, we were saying, God will use this. He's going to use this to reveal what needs to be revealed. So anyway,
well, that's what happened all through the history of the Bible. Is the kings, if you read through the books of Judges and Samuel and Chronicles and Kings, the kings revealed the heart of the people and the heart of the culture.
That's right.
And then that heart, that cultural heart, this is why I think government matters, is it reveals our cultural heart, and then that heart would be judged by God.
Yeah. So, anyway, I will say this, what I have personally, like my personal growth, I'll just put it out there that this was definitely an area where I needed to grow. And I'm sure many people out there would say I'm not done growing, including me. But just the freedom that comes with humility is so worth it.
Yeah.
And the quote being right thing, that I think it really is, it is a white person thing. It is
Very
definitely a cultural thing. Whiteness, evangelical Christianity combined, probably plus just my own DNA, my own makeup, and my family structure growing up. Like, being right was everything. And, there's a lot of shame in that when you feel like you just have to be right all the time. And, but I just feel like God has kind of helped to pull that back. And while it was a little bit painful, but not honestly as much as I would have thought, the freedom is worth it. The liberation is worth it. And like just creating space for other people to have their point of view, and to not feel like I needed to orchestrate that so much.
I think it's where the theologies are so damaging. The theology that we grew up with, that here are the rules, they're written in the Bible, it's this rule book you have to follow, and if you don't follow it, you're going to go to hell for eternity. 16-year-old boy says darn, hit by an 18-wheeler, he will be in hell forever in flames. And by the way, Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon, and he's going to take the good people out and he's going to leave the bad people behind. And oh shit, look out, people who are left behind.
You said shit.
I did. So I'm going to be left behind. And that theology, like it makes an exclusive religion that then we have permission, and we think it loving to tell people they're bad people. We think it is our job to tell people they're bad people. And that's where I think the deconstruction and reconstruction had a really wonderful podcast with a lady named Lacey Bean this week, talking about coming out of a cult, an evangelical cult, that said, not only do you believe the way we are or you're out, you believe we are the only ones that have the truth or you're out. And that deconstruction and reconstruction of theology is what God is doing in this season. So many people are going through it, so that this idea of this exclusive, I'm right, you're wrong, and it's my job to tell you you're wrong and condemn you. Or if you say no to what I say, to wash my hands of you. is a really destructive religion that just can't continue to stay in place.
Hey, so maybe this would be a little interesting exercise. Do you feel like this era of disruption, deconstruction, hopefully leading to reconstruction, how has it impacted you? And do you feel like you've been able to take steps forward in personal growth? And that's kind of just another way of saying like, like, I really believe God uses everything and that he is loving and like intersecting our lives all the time. And even though sometimes the journey is painful, like things are like he's moving us where he wants us to be. That's just kind of the way I see it that way. But I'm curious, have you experienced personal growth? I would say mine in COVID, shelter in place, George Floyd, Donald Trump, everything. I think it has been humility is what I have been smacked in the face with.
I saw Chaz V3 there is saying, I think I'm assuming he's talking about evangelical Christianity, was hijacked long ago. Trump just latched onto it. There's
totally
no question. It's been decades that the church has been going this way.
Hundreds of years, honestly, thousands even. So, yeah.
And so Trump latched onto it because he's a manipulating marketer, not a brilliant businessman. I don't think he's just a really good manipulator and jumping on trends. That he's fantastic at, and doing messaging to hateful people he's great at.
Yeah.
And in God's economy, I still don't think God put him in as president, but I think God said, I can use this to be a mirror to Christian people to decide, do I want to be that or do I want to be this?
Yeah.
We don't get to be like in the middle, like, I don't know that it really matters.
Yeah.
You're either for it or against it now. And that's what I think has been even the value of the season. I think in some ways, Trump did us a favor to blow the lid off and say, white supremacy? Oh yeah, it's deep in the right-wing church. Racism and nationalism and all of these things that I think Jesus pointed to the Pharisees and said, that stuff is really evil.
So on that point, I want to just note that someone said in the chat, I'm assuming a person of color says it's just been a really scary time and they don't trust white people right now. And I really appreciate that you are saying that.
I understand,
and it needs to be okay for you to express that. It needs to be safe for you to express that without being confronted with like reverse discrimination. Like, no.
Again, that comes back to we want to be offended.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And, that's confronting, and that's in a real and important way. So as a white person, and I have a lot of interaction with residents in my community that are people of color that, that are finally, honestly, because of George Floyd and more people creating space for these conversations, feeling safe to start to have these conversations. But it has been so hard because what happens is if people aren't prepared to listen and to talk, I've done this. I mean, thankfully, the people I've had these conversations with are strong and we all power through together. But my reaction even can be so offensive. Like, and it's just it creates this whole feeling of like, I'm not really being heard. I'm being dismissed, all of that. So I've learned that like, there's a lot of work to do before you can even get ready to have conversations with people of color about their experiences in their community, in their neighborhood, and everything.
Somebody's asking, has there always been a victim mentality in church? I don't know if I can say always. It has always been there since I've been alive. It's always been in the church that I know. And particularly in the 80s, it started becoming a thing. And then in the 90s, the culture war, the moral majority, actually, really in politics, I think it started in the late 60s with sort of the anti-hippie. Richard Nixon was, silent majority, you common sense people, law and order. That was Nixon absconded law and order from racist candidate George Wallace. And so that was the start of like, you normal common sense white people, these hippies, these Black Panthers are coming to get you. And I, Richard Nixon, am your savior from that. I think it was deeply woven into that era and time and has just continued to grow. And then in the late 80s, early 90s, focus on the family, Newt Gingrich, culture war, moral majority, all of that has just sown victimization into this. They're coming to get you and take your culture away. Rush Limbaugh. And so that has been absolutely woven and has groomed the American church, right-wing church, white evangelical church, to be taken in by a guy like Donald Trump, because people have been groomed for it for a long, long time. Then add in these prophetic words that said Donald Trump was going to win the election, but never mentioned COVID once. Somehow we believe, oh, wow, they prophesied Donald Trump was going to be president. You want to impress me? Show me where in 2010 you prophesied that 2020 would be a year of plague, and then maybe I'll be impressed.
Okay, so just want to ask you guys, take a minute if you could and share this live feed. That would be great. There's a little arrow in the bottom right-hand screen of your device, and it is the Share-O. And we'd love for you to just shoot this out right now. Some of you who have been tracking with us for a little while know that old Pastor Paul on TikTok is, we think, shadow banned or something. My theory on that is that after the election, TikTok didn't, as I say this, I know you're going to rebut, but that they're trying to kind of like cut down on political talk or something. And
more dancing 15-year-olds.
Yeah. And maybe they want to keep things a little more lighthearted and and by the way, I love watching people's pets on TikTok. Pudgy Woke, I could watch honestly all day, the same video, just over and over. That hilarious dog. But anyway, so something's going on. We're having a hard time getting the message out. So if you could share, we don't know honestly if that's going to help, but it would be great to just try to get out of the algorithm. And I know you would say, but other people's content is getting out. Why am I the only one?
It's a fact.
Well, I think it's a compliment. I think it's a TikTok compliment, because I think you are getting somewhere. I think you are. I mean, the emails that Paul gets, the DMs that Paul gets from so many people just saying like, you feel like you are giving them a lifeline and just like fresh air that, and that they're struggling without the kind of input and just connection that you're helping to create. So I think you're getting somewhere. I think just stay encouraged. But yeah, it's definitely, it's been a little bit harder the last month really now.
Yeah. So just share it and look at the videos, and you guys are doing that. And I so appreciate it. Many of you are using the Free Pastor Paul hashtag and all those things. So it's fun. I don't know if it's going to change. I'm sort of settled in, like now we're starting week 5 of this. And, everybody told me, oh, it'll last 10 to 14 days and then it'll go away.
No, it's been longer.
It's been longer. So
we've been searching for someone who's like an expert in TikTok, like just through networking. Does anybody know?
Yes, I have. And somebody's asking if I contacted TikTok directly. And yes, I have. And they sent me back a link to an FAQ page that told me
it's just
nothing.
Like form emails that are like, hey, just make your content better. And we're like, our content is perfect.
Screw you.
Nothing wrong with it. It's wonderful, brilliant. So anyway, but like we can't find anybody, like on other platforms, you can find a host of people.
You eventually
YouTube
get to
videos,
a human being.
like people know like, oh, okay, here's what you need to do or whatever, but we can't with TikTok. So it is a little bit mysterious. Like, who are these people?
Maybe the people that said it was the Chinese were right.
Well, I know, but I don't want to say that because I don't want to get in trouble more.
I didn't say
them.
that.
So,
didn't say that in.
Yeah, that's what we've been thinking. All right. So,
what else happened this week?
Okay, so week that happened. This is that was a really significant for you to sign on to that letter, and we'll make sure that you guys have the link so that you can help share it out and get other faith leaders to sign on. I know in our community here locally, a lot of people of color have been like, where are our white faith leaders standing up, like denouncing this stuff? And it's actually been hurtful that that's not been real loud in our community in Central California, in Fresno. Okay, week that happened for me looked kind of like this. I think most of what I was consumed with this week was trying to figure out how to get more vaccines to this region for people in the farm and ag sector. And it is a battle in some large part. I mean, mostly just because it's a battle around the globe and supply chain is just not pumping out yet, although that's changing, etc. But also there were some politics around that. What?
Politics?
What? There were some politics around just like who's speaking up. So I was involved with a group that put together a coalition with some community groups, some worker organizations, some environmental justice groups, some ag associations, and people from the employment community and the worker community coming together to say, as it relates to farm worker vaccination in California, please, all of you people who are in charge of everything, be really relaxed. Like, let whole families get vaccinated. If a car of folks roll up and the dad's in the front seat and he's like, hey, I'm working in the fields, I need my vaccination, and I brought my mom and I brought my daughter and I brought my wife, vaccinate the whole car, right? Like, whole family vaccination, no age restrictions, please, on our essential food and ag workers as they're coming up on harvest, and they are going to be toiling in the fields to make sure all of us have fresh fruits and vegetables on our tables, for the next several months. Like get them vaccinated. No age restrictions, even if they've had COVID, there's a restriction on if you've had COVID in the last 90 days, you can't get your vaccination yet because you're considered to be immune. So they're saving doses for other people. I understand the intention behind that, but honestly, this is a high priority population. They're disproportionately impacted. Of course, they are almost entirely people of color and have a lack of access to healthcare resources, et cetera. So we're just like, man, for these some hundreds of thousands of people, sorry, I'm not looking in the camera, for these hundreds of thousands of people in this region, let's be liberal, let's be generous, let's extend well beyond what the restrictions currently are allowing.
Oh, you just used the word liberal and a whole bunch of people just turned you off. That was liberal,
it. And all of these people were like lobbying are like very liberal. Yeah. So we're like, hey,
you are actually speaking out to the political liberals, and saying, be liberal with the vaccine. Yes.
And lowercase L, be liberal and not judicious, but just like blow it open. If we can get employers and working families together, like if we can just get it set up, we had 90 sites identified, 85,000 farm workers ready to be vaccinated, and hit a little bit of a buzzsaw. So, I'm kind of, honestly, I'm reeling from that a little bit and just feeling kind of let down.
What do you think their reason is? Why are you having trouble? I mean, wouldn't everybody say, great idea? Yes, let's do that.
That's the thing. I think, well, I can't speculate on why, but here's what I would recommend for the 0% of people listening to me right now. Here's how I would advise you on how to handle this. There were things that these community groups came together around, like that are, I would consider like administrative in nature. For example, we live in a region where, 6 to 8 counties are, like every county is handling things differently, but these farm sites roll over multiple counties, or these employers have multiple county sites. And so in one county, they're being treated one way with one set of rules. In another county, it's another set of rules. So why couldn't the state just say, hey, as it relates to the ag and food sector, we're just going to say this applies to everybody, and take some of that discretion and rulemaking out of the county level, just for the spirit of being expeditious. So that is an easy yes. Say yes to that. Now you can say, hey, we are so with you. This is a priority population for us. The reality is we don't have enough doses. And so, yes, we'll work with you on the employer sites and the community sites. Yeah, but you're not maybe going to get, you asked for 100,000 doses. We gave you 34,000. We're pushing hard to get you to 50. Like that can be an okay response, but do the easy stuff, respond to the things that it's administrative relief to streamline this across multiple counties. I don't get why. I think what happened was it felt like criticism.
They felt like you were critiquing them, and they shrieked at the critique.
Yes.
So I want to respond to that, but first, Stevia Sweet, I saw your comment. He just said he's really scared that God hates him because he's gay. Oh. God does not hate you. You're perfect as you are. Send me a DM. I would love to chat with you. Just send me a DM through TikTok and we'll connect. But no, God does not hate you. You don't have to be scared. The people telling you that are wrong. You are great as you are, and God thinks you're amazing. This is what I love about you. Well, I love a lot of things about you, but one of the things I love about you, and really part of the premise of what we say is we hate religion and politics. We love Jesus and the Bible, and we love good government. And we think those go together, and God loves those. And so what we're trying to say, people say, oh, you're not nonpartisan. I have a podcast called The Nonpartisan Evangelical. You're not nonpartisan, you're partisan. And people think that because we're not in the tank for the right-wing evangelical church, but we're not partisan on the left either. And what I love about you, and you say this often, is I just want government to run well. Let's just
Yes.
make government work.
Like,
When government works,
it's so basic.
fires get fought. And, we wouldn't be where we are with COVID if we didn't have a completely inept administration over the last year. Like, there are things the government can do. So the right-wing idea that government is always bad, always, always, always bad. Well, Texas has proven that wrong, hasn't it, over the last week or so? Even Ted Cruz is calling for regulation of the power companies now. So government can help. The other side sometimes tends to be like, let's just put more government money to this and that'll fix it.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is, no, government can be really good and really helpful in this,
Yeah.
but it has to be well run.
Right.
It has to be well managed, so
right.
there's enough money to go around. And that's what I love about the message that we have and what you do as a person working in the civic realm.
Yeah, it always just kind of comes down to the merit of the argument, right? Like, if you're considering some, like, a public policy proposal or whatever, it doesn't matter who brings it forward. It shouldn't matter their political affiliation, nothing. Like things should just be
Right.
considered on their merits. And what that means is, sometimes, as if you're on one side of the political aisle, you're going to say, like, you know what, so-and-so on the other side of the aisle had a really good idea. Now, I think it could be improved or perfected. I'd really like to work with you to make sure it's implemented in a way that's most effective. But, like, that frees you up. Like, if it doesn't matter who's bringing the proposal forward, it frees you up to just consider things on the merits. And then, honestly, I've been in politics. I'm not naive. I get the world of gotchas from political opponents, but the best way to defang a political opponent. I'm going to start that over. The best way to defang a political opponent is to listen to them.
Mm.
And even if they're coming at you with the intent to hurt or politically maim or politically kill you, even if so, you just like, okay, I see that. I'm not going to respond to that, but let me hear what you're bringing forward. It usually becomes pretty clear if they're doing like a Hail Mary, or like I remember one time when we were dealing with the Great Recession, and we were going through a bunch of budget cuts in our city, and I was having a pretty public arm wrestle with the police union, and respect very much the person I was facing off with, because he was good at his job, and his job was to make me look really irresponsible or idiotic, and my job was to try to navigate the finances of the city. And he sent this letter that was like, hey, you don't need to cut the following things because here are all of the things, here's all the fat in the budget. And he provided a list. Well, on the surface, it looked like, oh, what a helpful public steward. He's putting forward a list of all, and so we're like, all right, well, let's consider these items. And so we literally went through and noted like the cost savings that we would experience. And some of his ideas were good ideas, but the savings were like $50,000, and we were trying to close like a $10 million budget gap,
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we'll take the couch, cushion, the change in the couch cushion. You're right about that. But let's be honest, this letter adds up to maybe a total of $500,000 in savings, and we're trying to fill this big budget hole. So, anyway, just it's even if people are not approaching you in an intellectually honest or emotionally honest space, you have to assume they are in order to stop the spiral. Because if you just then go at them, now you're just, I don't know.
It's why
tumbling down the hill.
It's why partisanship, and particularly now where the extremes are operating and sort of owning the parties. Although, hello, Christians, if you think Joe Biden is an extreme liberal Democrat, you don't know what the bleep you're talking about. You need to wake up and not be stuck listening to Focus on the Family all the time. So just running to your corner doesn't fix anything. At some point, let's try to fix things. Let's try to make the world a better place, because Jeremiah 29:7 says, pray for the welfare of the community where I send you. Pray for the shalom. And the communities being talked about there are truly evil communities where people are being taken into slavery. And the Bible is saying, pray for the welfare of that community, because in its welfare, in its justice, in its peace, in its shalom, in its equality, you will find your welfare. And we're just saying, let's not go after the welfare of the Republican Party or the Christian religion or the right-wing ideology or the other side. Let's go after the welfare of our cities, our state, our region, our country, and the whole world, and see what happens. Maybe in like trying to have good things happen to people, things will happen. And I think that's what we've been saying to the California Republican Party for a long time. And instead of trying to figure out how to be a minority party taking power, why not try to think of real solutions that would benefit people? And maybe they'll vote for you then, because you're the party coming up with real solutions for real people. Could help, couldn't it? The other thing that happened this week is this Equality Act has come out. And I haven't studied it intensely. I don't know if you've looked at it, but Christian people are losing their freaking minds.
Okay, you gotta fill me in.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
So it's basically an act. I think it passed the House and now it's going to the Senate. So
Okay.
Franklin Graham put out the sky is falling message today that everybody's now jumping on.
Hellfire and brimstone.
And it basically is an act to say
that's right.
you cannot discriminate on the basis of gender or sexual preference.
Yeah.
It was a partisan vote, of course, because the Republicans have to be against gay people at all times.
That's too bad. There could have / should have been at least a small handful of Republicans who voted their conscience and voted their district and voted in support, you know.
And so now every evangelical pastor is out there saying they're going to make us
do gay marriage
and hire trans people and all of those things that we just use as boogeymen to scare people. But guys, let's ask the question. By the way, I heard a stat this week, and I haven't had a chance to check it, but it was from a reliable source that said in the church, the acceptance of LGBTQ plus IA lifestyles is gaining faster than any belief out there.
Like, I'm not surprised.
I think in 20 years, you won't be able to find a church that's staunch against gay people like now.
That's interesting.
That's going to change in a generation for sure. This act. So what we do is, in the church, we go to the boogeyman, slippery slope. Well, this could happen and this could happen, instead of just saying, I think God would be pleased if we just offered human dignity to everybody. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's just offer human dignity.
Yeah.
If a transitioning man wants to wear a dress and go in the women's bathroom, it's not the end of the world. It's not. Our kids are not going to be turned gay by that and go to hell.
Yeah.
We've got to get off the slippery slope path. Yes, there are potential problems in the midst of that, and let's work that through. But a bill that says, hey, let's just start to provide human dignity to everybody. Let's recognize that gay and transgender people have been treated as second-class citizens for a long time, even as women used to be treated as second-class citizens, now are treated as like 1.5 class citizens. Someday we'll get them to completely equal. Let's allow everybody to have access to the same equality.
So we have been on for almost an hour now, and it's gone by so fast. I think that.
Boy, it does go fast.
So I tried hard this time, you guys. I tried to look at the camera, and that meant that I couldn't see all of the comments coming in. So I feel a little incomplete from my morning on Paul and Ashley Live. So I think next week I'm going to go back to just staring at the comments and doing awkward video. But I wonder if we should land the plane, spend a little bit of time making sure if there are questions we need to answer or you need to answer, or words of encouragement we want to share before we wind down. That would be smart.
I've seen people asking about the golden Trump idol. We talked about that at the beginning. And so this this live stream. TikTok doesn't preserve it, but YouTube does. And so you can go back and watch it on YouTube and see what we said about that. And it also gets on my website at pastor-paul.com. And so you can go back and see it. We're not going to go into
And
that
I'm
again.
curious, did anybody take me up on my question of like, did you experience personal growth? Like that might be too weird of a thing to ask in a TikTok live and a YouTube live, but I'm hoping there was a little bit of encouragement for people just to reflect this morning on like, we're living through a disruptive time, but let's not miss the opportunity to reconstruct. Let's not miss that that's probably already happening in our lives. I mean, when like I have such mixed feelings about going back to kind of like normal, whatever, because look, I have a, so my other like WTH thing that happened
You're
this
interrupting
week,
yourself.
I am. It happens, but it's all right. I can keep track. So I was having a conversation with a colleague who's an older man, and he's gone through the vaccination process. He's been eligible, and I was like, I am so far away from being eligible for a vaccine, as in I'm so young. And then I was like, wait a second, they're going to be to 50 and up in the not too distant future. And I'm like just under 50. So
I'll be able to get that vaccine and you won't in your face.
Yeah, he's going to get, anyway. So I had a little bit of a like, oh man, like generational moment of like, I'm not as young as I think I am or used to be. But anyway,
particularly in the TikTok space.
So, but there is a time coming where, we're like, I'm going to not be working at home every day, and, things are going to feel a little bit back to normal. And I'm on so many calls during my day job of kind of community change agents and people in the philanthropic space around the state and nation. And everybody is saying the same thing, which is we're so excited about this moment that we're in history, but we're anxious that we're going to blow past the opportunity and the quest to quote, get back to normal. We are going to go back to the way things were. And there are so many people who do not want things to be exactly the way they were before COVID and the shutdown. Yeah. And I live with that. I really live with that. So what I want to do in the middle of these final months of waiting for the vaccinations and ultimately being full bore back to work and all of that is I want to recognize the ways in which I already have sensed God working in my life. And I want to say yes to more of that, so it's just an alignment thing of like, where's your heart? Where's your mind? Just anyway, so I put that out there for.
And I think getting back to normal is not God's goal. I think
that's it, right? That's really the point.
The people that are fighting to get the churches back open again, that are fighting for the status quo to be, reacquired, I think are missing the point of the season. I think there's something new and exciting happening. And I think it was what was happening in Jesus' time. It's like, there is a new way coming. In fact, they called it the way. They didn't call it Christianity. They called it the way. And I think there's a new church coming. I mean, we have an online Sunday gathering. You can join us tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific time. And we're trying to do something different. We're trying to see, where is the Spirit of God going in the next season? And somebody was asking about sort of, how do we speak into this, Christianity that's gone wrong? Let's just display, instead of saying what we're against and what we're running from, let's just display what we're going to. And I think there's a new way of saying God wants to connect to all flesh, to all humanity, and we want to be a part of that process. So yeah, join us at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Such great comments coming in. Yeah. See, I am going to read these comments better next time. But can you scroll down just a little bit? I want to call out, let's see, that one right there. Stop. Okay. Let's pray that God will show us the person we are to be for this time.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the right
word. That's mindset. That's mindset shift. That is, in fact, in my coaching, I talk about the movie Gran Torino, where Clint Eastwood's character is living in a mindset when he was a Korean War veteran that Southeast Asian people were people that you shot and killed because they were a threat to your life. Now he's living in a neighborhood where Southeast Asian people are moving in, and that mindset has to change to realize they're not this dehumanized thing that you shot guns at. but they are human people that you can have relationship and learn and grow and change. And it's time for Christians to learn and grow and change into a new mindset. And God's not going to be mad at you about that.
So, man, maybe that's just where we need to end is like, let's covenant together. Those of us who are gathered on this call and all the networks we represent, dear God, let us stay in this place of being soft-hearted, being open to you, being open to viewing other people and issues the way you do. I pray, God, that you would just replace my old way of thinking with your way of thinking. And I can find so many things to be grateful for in this season. The most important is just the stretch and creating space for us to really, 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 as somebody said in the chat, not make the mistakes of the first part of this century or the last century.
Yeah. And I pray blessing for God, love who God loves.
Yeah.
Let our heart be for who your heart is for.
Yeah.
I talked about Matthew 5 in the Bible talk this morning and how Jesus was turning everything on its head. No, being poor doesn't mean you're cursed by God. It actually means, you're really loved by God just as much as anybody else. And so that's my heart, is that we would learn to care for who God cares for, love who God loves, and not think that it's just me and we three that God cares for, but that whole world out there.
Well, also, God loves us as individuals so much, like that's something that you push on a lot with your personal growth stuff that you work on with other people is really just, sometimes it's a defense mechanism for, especially for those of us raised in a religious setting, is to just make it all about other people. And we push past our own needs to connect with God and really understand how he views us personally. We're taught that that's an unacceptable way to spend your time. You should just be about other people. And that's really been a mindset shift for me too, is like, no, it's like God wants you to know how he sees you. And as we've seen on the chat this morning, people asking for like, hey, am I okay because I'm gay? Am I okay because of this or that? And let's not push past the moment where, we really want to help encourage you to connect with God and have his view of who you are.
Our mantra is, God is not mad at you. He's not looking to just slam people down. And so, a blessing of the Bible is that you would know the goodness of God, that know that God's eyes are upon you, that God sees you, that there's something overarching of the universe that recognizes you exist and values that existence. And I pray that God's followers, whether we claim to be Christian or something else, would recognize that that is the heart of God, to understand the value of human beings and live out of that. What does Goose Gang and Goose on the Shelf and Bless the Geese? What does all of that mean?
Quite entertaining. I think we
have you ever read Goose Indians 32?
I think it might be a bit of a prankster.
Well, why are there so many of them then?
It could be a concerted group of pranksters. Who knows?
A lot of geese.
A lot of geese.
Well,
anyway,
the funny thing is we really like geese, and we feel like they are a symbol of God's provision and of wisdom for us. So.
Back in ancient times, we're told, culture saw geese as like watchdogs from heaven because they were so enormous, and it was like, how can those things fly? So they were considered kind of like, they were treated as like a little bit special kind of bird. So we actually kind of think they're cool.
So somebody says, yes, we were sent from another account. Well, thank you for building up our numbers.
Exactly.
And so I guess we could say flock you. So yeah.
Please. And boy, geese leave really big turds though. That's for sure. I mean, like enormous.
Yeah, because in Fresno we have these ponding basins where we save water for usage, and our son had this practice field that was right by this ponding basin. So when in the migration season, the geese would all come by, and you would just hear it hit the ground like boom, boom, boom as they were dropping their crud.
We joke they like dive bomb your family. All right. Well, anyway, hey, tomorrow morning, Paul mentioned that we do a spiritual gathering. It's at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And if you want a link to that, you can go to Paul's website, pastor-paul.com. Click on the
Hey,
link.
Blackwell says, hey, I'm eating lunch
I
right
know,
now.
right? Sorry, we'll have to be a little more polite. But you can click on the link. You can get access to the Zoom. If you're uncomfortable being in a Zoom space, because that means your mic is on, people could hear you. If you wanted to talk, you can hear other people directly.
Yeah.
Some of you prefer some anonymity in the spiritual gathering. So it is still live on TikTok. So you can tune in on TikTok as well, 10 o'clock Pacific tomorrow. And it's an hour-long thing. And it's actually become a really cool gathering and people just connecting. You go through the Christian tradition of taking communion, which we have seen some people take communion with Doritos and grape soda. So it's kind of a fun way to do a traditional Christian ceremony.
Pastor-paul.com. Go to the events contact page. It's there. Somebody's asking, when will this be up on the website? I usually get it up by Monday. Maybe I'll try to do it a little bit quicker, but you can see the lives. The lives get saved, but then I build them as a podcast and those go up on Monday.
And another question about one more time, how do you get access to the Zoom for tomorrow morning?
So go to pastor-paul.com, click on the events contact page, and it'll have the link in there. Okay. That is tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific. So hopefully we'll see you guys there.
Okay.
Thank you for all the shares, all the love, all of that. And even you goose people, whatever that was all about. Thanks for pumping up our numbers. So we love it.
All right. Have a good weekend.
See you guys.
See you guys soon.
All right. Let's sign off from TikTok. See ya.